Mr. President, سيد الرئيس، أود في البداية أن أعبر عن امتناني العميق.
I would like to express our deep appreciation for France for inviting the Security Council to convene this important session in light of the difficult situation in Lebanon. France was always a loyal friend of Lebanon and of the Lebanese people. France stood by our side in the darkest circumstances. The best proof being the efforts France is making today in collaboration with the United States in order to issue a joint communiqué that enjoys international support and which would put an end to this dirty war. I also thank Slovenia, President of the Security Council, for this month for answering this invitation. I thank the Secretary General for his briefing at the beginning of the session. I also thank Algeria, representing the Arabic group in the Security Council, for their ongoing support. I thank all the members of this august council for their ongoing support to the sovereignty of Lebanon, its unity and stability. I seize the opportunity to thank all the members of the council for supporting the resolution extending the mandate of UNIFIL for another year upon the demand of Lebanon. Mr. President, in Lebanon, we are facing a blatant violation of our sovereignty and of human rights through the brutal practices of the Israeli enemy against our state and against the Lebanese people. Israel is violating our sovereignty by sending their warplanes and drones to our skies, by killing our civilians, including youth, women and children, destroying homes and forcing families to flee harsh humanitarian conditions. Furthermore, they are spreading terror and fear among the Lebanese citizens in full view of the world, which is watching idly. Regrettably, the number of innocent civilian martyrs and of the injured is increasing. Hundreds of civilians lost their life within a few days. Hospitals are overwhelmed, unable to accept more injured. Lebanon is today victim of an electronic cyber aggression and of an air and maritime aggression that can turn into a ground aggression and can become an all-out regional war. I hope to come back to my country armed with your explicit stance calling for the cessation of this aggression and for the respect of the sovereignty and safety of my country. We are witnessing today an unprecedented escalation, resorting to new tools, especially electronic tools, to harm my people. The aggressor is claiming that they are only targeting combatants and weapons, but I assure you that the hospitals of Lebanon are full of civilian injured people, including dozens of women and children. In light of the above, a question begs to be asked: who can guarantee that such aggressions won't be waged against other states if no deterring measures and decisive sanctions are not taken against the aggressor? Who can guarantee us or any other states the safety of our food, water, or any other commodities entering our territories? Mr. President, these events cannot be dissociated from a long history of conflicts and violations against Lebanon for centuries. The Israeli aggressions, the ongoing Israeli aggressions against the Lebanese territories constitute a blatant violation of our national sovereignty and of our rights as a member state of the United Nations. This situation is not new, however. Lebanon has known long periods of tensions and aggressions, which threatened its stability and the safety of its citizens. But Lebanon remained steadfast, and the Lebanese have bravely and still bravely face all these aggressions on all the Lebanese territories. Mr. President, I speak in the name of Lebanon, and I am here not only to file a complaint and not to submit a detailed report of the number of martyrs and injured and of the destruction against our country. All this is documented before the public opinion. I am here today hoping to come out of this session with a serious solution based on the joint efforts of all the members of the Security Council to put pressure on Israel to achieve an immediate ceasefire on all fronts and to restore stability and security to our region. The Lebanese people reject the war. The Lebanese people believe in stability and work for the future. Lebanon is a founding member state of the United Nations, and it has contributed to drafting the UN Charter. Lebanon also participated in charting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, represented by Dr. Charles Malik. This contribution reflects our strong commitment to human values and to international justice. Today, in the name of these values, which brought us together under the umbrella of the United Nations, we have come to reaffirm the right of Lebanon to stability, security, and safety, and its right to sovereignty and defending its sovereignty, and its right to recover its occupied territories. The current tensions do not come from a vacuum. They are the result of accumulations of conflicts and aggressions that were never radically settled. Israel never stopped violating the UN resolutions that were adopted throughout the years, particularly Resolution 1701. This resolution was supposed to be a framework to achieve a lasting stability in South Lebanon. Regrettably, we are still witnessing Israeli violations of our sovereignty around the clock by air, sea, and land. These repeated violations undermine all the stability efforts and threaten the whole region with an explosion at any moment. Therefore, I reaffirm the commitment of the Lebanese government with Resolution 1701 adopted in 2006 by your Council. And today, I would like to call upon the Council to act seriously and immediately to guarantee the withdrawal of Israel from all the occupied Lebanese territories and end the violations that are repeated on a daily basis. We also reaffirm the need to end the Israeli aggression against Gaza immediately. The spillovers of what is happening in Gaza is directly affecting the situation in Lebanon and the region, and what is happening will not stop at the borders of the region, but will include the whole Middle East if it is not addressed without further delay. The failure to reach a solution will further complicate the situation. The ongoing violation will only lead to further escalation, which does not serve the interest of any party in this complex formula. Mr. President, the United Nations was created to promote stability. However, we see today that the world is unable to stop the ongoing humanitarian tragedy in our region. Therefore, and on behalf of the Lebanese people, we call upon your Council to shoulder its full responsibilities and take an immediate, decisive stance that would end the plight of our people to pave the way for diplomatic solutions. Mr. President, Lebanon is not asking for charity. We are asking for our legitimate rights pursuant to international law, our right as Lebanese to live in safety, our right to protect our national sovereignty, and our right to a future away from wars and conflicts. I address your august Council and the international community as a whole, saying that it is time to reject wars and violence and to implement international resolutions so that they do not remain dead letter. We have the tools. What we need today is a true will and effective collaboration. Let us not waste this opportunity. We need to act immediately because we cannot bear to lose another generation because of the war. Thank you, President.
I thank His Excellency Mr. Najib Mikati for his statement. I give the floor to the representative of Israel.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Israeli civilians in the north watched with horror while their brothers and sisters in the south were tortured, raped, beheaded, and kidnapped by Hamas terrorists, they fled to bomb shelters as Hezbollah rained down missiles in a show of solidarity, that's how they call it, with these butchers, with these savages. Irit Efrati has lived in Kibbutz Dan in the north since her birth. She has only ever had to flee her home one other time, as a 7-year-old in our War of Independence in 1948. Now, aged 83, she again finds herself as a refugee in the city of Haifa. For nearly a year, Irit has struggled to maintain her sanity, confined to a small room and far from the life and home she built over a lifetime. This is not a unique story. Irit joins tens of thousands of Israelis now living in cramped temporary housing, praying for the day she will return to the only place she has ever called home. Since October 8, almost 9,000 rockets, along with hundreds of anti-tank missiles, have been launched at our civilians, targeting their homes, families, and the state. Since October 8, 70,000 civilians have been forced to flee their homes. They have been made refugees within their own country. They do not know when they will be able to return home, restart their lives, or when their children can go back to their schools. Since October 8, terrorists and their relentless attacks have injured more than 370 Israelis and murdered 49, including 12 Israeli Druze children who were playing soccer. And now, I sit here again to defend Israel's actions, as if any other country in our situation would behave differently, would chart any different course, and would not act in the defense of their people. No nation, be honest, no nation would sit idly by as its citizens are attacked. Over the past week, Israel has been conducting precise strikes in Lebanon against Hezbollah's command centers, launching sites, missile and weapon stores, and their leadership. On September 20th, we targeted Hezbollah terrorist leaders during a meeting where they were planning a second October 7th. Hezbollah has made it clear, given the chance, they would storm our borders, infiltrate our communities, murder, rape, and take hostages back to their dens of horror. Yet, the Security Council, the Secretary General, some UN officials, and even UNIFIL commanders can barely bring themselves to mention Hezbollah. Listen to all the statements, like you cannot mention this word. Hezbollah, the internationally designated terrorist organization that began this conflict and acts in constant violation of UN Security Council resolutions. For years, we have been clear, we fully support Resolution 1701, like the Prime Minister just mentioned. We support the resolution, and we support its complete implementation. For years, we have sounded the alarm over Hezbollah's blatant violations. For years, we have provided undeniable evidence of their military buildup, yet our warnings have been ignored. The time for half measures is over. Resolution 1701 must be enforced in full, without delay. And I remind you, it says that the Lebanese army will be on the border with Israel, not Hezbollah. Perhaps some of you have forgotten how this started and why we must defend ourselves, but we have not. And I make this declaration here today to remove any doubt. Never again will the Jewish people hide from the monsters whose purpose in life is to murder Jews. Never again will we provide the benefit of the doubt to those who declare their intention to murder Jews. When they tell us and show us who they are, we will believe them. We will take all necessary steps within our rights and in accordance with international law to neutralize that threat. Israel does not seek a full-scale war. We have made our desire for peace clear to all those who are not blinded by hatred and political agendas. However, Israel is under attack. In the last 24 hours, northern and central Israel have faced a new wave of relentless attacks, with over 150 rockets launched deep into Israeli territory, into areas that are home to 1.5 million Israelis. These strikes have injured civilians and destroyed homes in communities like Tzfat and Rosh Pina. This morning, Hezbollah escalated their aggression, launching a surface-to-surface missile towards Tel Aviv. At the same time, Iran's other proxy, the Islamic resistance in Iraq, one of many in the Middle East, has claimed responsibility for UAV and cruise missile attack on our northern and eastern regions. Yet, many continue to remain silent on Hezbollah's crimes, further emboldening Iran's terror proxies to continue their attacks. They are not discriminating based on race or creed. Nazareth, an important northern Israeli city with a population of 70% Muslim and 30% Christian, the hometown of Jesus himself, was showered with rockets just a few nights ago. Not only does Hezbollah target civilians, but they also continue to hide behind them. Israel has uncovered clear evidence that Hezbollah is using civilian homes as storage and launch sites for their missiles. They are homes where families live. They use the basement, they use the rooftop to put the rockets, and they force people to stay in the houses. These are homes where children sleep. They exploit the very people they claim to represent, putting both Israeli and Lebanese civilians in the line of fire. Worse still, they fire from positions near UNIFIL posts, recklessly endangering peacekeepers from across the world. This is not just a war against Israel. It is a war against humanity, waged by Iran's proxies. They hold the people of Lebanon hostage. We know that. Using their homes as shields for their rockets, pushing the entire region to the brink of destruction. We cannot accept these conditions. We will not let Iran's terrorist proxies dictate how Israelis can live their lives. We will not let our north become a war zone. Mr. President, every representative here knows which entity is behind it, orchestrating this situation. It is the regime that has placed a countdown clock in the center of their capital, counting the days until our destruction. I haven't been to Tehran, but if you'll go there, you will see that clock ticking. The Islamic regime of Iran is the driving force behind the rockets that have been launched at our communities for almost a year, the driving force behind Hezbollah's aggression, and the driving force behind the instability sweeping our region. At the head of the terrorist snake, Iran has spread its venom against innocent Israeli civilians, from the Houthis in Yemen attempting to strangle global trade, to Hezbollah's rocket barrage, from Hamas's practice of rape and kidnapping, to the Shia militias in Syria and Iraq targeting Western personnel. We all know the Ayatollah stands behind it all. Every missile fired by Hezbollah, every drone launched by Iranian proxies, every act of terror on foreign soil traces back to one source, the Islamic regime of Iran. It is the spider at the center of this web of violence, and we have to fight this web of violence. There can be no peace in the region until we dismantle this threat. Esteemed colleagues, there is a clear path of action for this Council if it truly wishes to avoid escalation. Demand the immediate implementation of Resolution 1701. Designate Hezbollah and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization. And finally, stop casting blame on the side defending its citizens. Instead, find the courage to once and for all name and condemn the true aggressor responsible for igniting this cycle of violence. I thank you, Mr. President.